Very much. We'll get this meeting started. I'd like to call the the March 4th, 2025 West Melbourne City Council to order. Please stand with me as we say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may all be seated. All right, I just have to go through this. Welcome, everyone, to tonight's meeting of the City Council. Members of the public are welcome to speak on any topic, whether it is on tonight's agenda or on any issue that is important to you. Each person that wishes to speak should complete a speaker card, which are located near the glass doors, and submit it ahead of time to the city clerk, right up there in that little brown basket. After you've been recognized to speak, please use the microphone at the podium and clearly state your name and address for the record. Please address all your comments to the City Council rather than individual members. Direct all questions to the chair. Speakers will be given up to 3 minutes. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to do presentations and proclamations, and we're going to call forward, please, Samantha Nazaro. Do you have it out there for me already? All right, thank you very much. This is the proclamation, and this is, did you want to say a few words before I get started, or you want to say them after?
I'll say them after.
Okay, all right. Here's the proclamation here. This is whereas in March 1986, National Hemophilia Month was established by President Ronald Reagan, and whereas in 2016, the Federal Department of Health and Human Resources began designating March as Bleeding Disorders Awareness Month, and whereas, according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control, there are more than 3 million people nationwide who are affected by some form of bleeding disorder, and whereas bleeding disorders are a group of disorders that prohibit the ability to form a proper blood clot. Symptoms include extended bleeding after surgery or trauma, and sometimes bleeding is spontaneous without a known or identifiable cause. Treatment varies depending on the specific condition and severity. And whereas the Bleeding Disorders Coalition of Florida, BDCF, an advocacy organization founded by the Hemophilia Foundation of Greater Florida and the Florida Hemophilia Association to be the voice of the Florida bleeding disorders community, and its mission to improve the quality of life for people with bleeding disorders and their families through education, information, and referral services, advocacy support, and research, and annually hosting 5K fun walks and other events to bring awareness to the community and funding for research and support services. That is one long sentence. Now, therefore, I, Mayor of City of West Melbourne, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2025 as Bleeding Disorders Awareness Month, and encourage all residents to learn more about bleeding disorders and to support the efforts of healthcare professionals and BCDF for their dedication and commitment to improved treatment, and ultimately a cure. Witness my hand and seal this day, 4th day of March 2025. Thank you very, very much. We'll stand for the photo, and then if you'd like to say something.
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
This right here. Thank you. The microphone is all yours.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you, West Melbourne, for having us. This is our 4th proclamation year with all of you, and I'd like to thank your predecessors, former Mayor Rose and former Councilman Daniel McDowell. He was kind of the driving force on this pet project with me 4 years ago. I am a Melbourne resident. My name is Samantha Nazario. We live in West Melbourne. My son Tyler was diagnosed at 6 years old with von Willebrand's disease, which is for him was a mutation. It was not genetic. Tyler's medication costs upwards of $16,000 a dose. We all know we live in Brevard County. I don't think any parent here can afford a $2,100 copay for one dose of medication. Um, Thanks to the undying efforts of the bleeding disorder community, I'm going to take this moment to educate you guys real quick. I'm sure that everyone here is familiar, whether reading it or living it, the height of the AIDS crisis in the late 80s and early 90s. Well, back then, the hemophilia community lost over 20,000 patients due to tainted blood. And where that would destroy most communities, that actually drove that community to change for global, to push for global change. That enacted the Ricky Ray Law, which was enacted in 1998. That forced every government around the world to test all blood products and any products containing any kind of blood derivative, so plasma, platelets, anything like that. If anybody's ever had a major surgery, any one of you in here could need plasma or a blood transfusion at any point in time, and you can thank the bleeding disorder community of America for spearheading that effort to make sure that every blood product we use in the United States and around the world is safe. I basically implore you all to go home and Google bleeding disorders. Here in the state of Florida, we do year-round events. Everything is free and open to the public. And I invite you all to continue to spread awareness. And it is great and such a blessing to live in a county and community where awareness does matter. So thank you, everyone in West Melbourne, for your time this evening. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
The Irish Heritage Month, Brian McCann. No one's Irish? No Brian McCann? Okay, we'll just hold.
Thank you. Aaron Gobra.
We're all a little Irish. We're equal St. Patrick's. We're all a little Irish.
Hey, green eyes, green shirt. That's true. She's wearing green. Yeah. Name?
All right, the next item is going to be the State of the City. Thank you very much. I'm going to go down there to do this. All right, every year we do the State of the City, and this year it's my turn as mayor. This is my first time doing it for the city, so bear with me, please. Next year it'll be even better. Thank you. Except I can't see without my glasses on. I'd like to read this portion out loud. It is our vision statement. The City of West Melbourne is committed to being a vibrant, growing, and caring community that continually seeks excellence for residents. Our vision is to grow West Melbourne into the Space Coast's premier location for homes, careers, and families. This has been our vision for a while. I consider it to be more of a directive. This is what we do up here every day, every meeting that we have. This is our focus. This is why we do it. So this is our vision. Thank you. Looks like some of us got the red, the red memo that day. So as you can see, this is our new council. We have several new people up here. We have Alexis McGuire and we have Austin Gaylord. They are new to our council. They're doing a great job. Stephen Frampus, council member Pat Bentley, and Diana Adams and Helen Volz. And we are all doing our best for you every day that we possibly can. We encourage you to contact us. We can be contacted through the city. We all have the same email format. It's our first initial and last name at westmelbourne.gov. And of course, I mustn't forget Opus. He's not here tonight, though, is he? Okay. All right. Thank you. So, I think you should tell him who he is. He's him. He's our very favorite dog. He is Diana's service dog, yes. All right, so this is our leadership staff, and I think they've taken casual dress just a bit too far here. It is Christmas. Okay, so this was taken for our Christmas breakfast. We have our city manager, our assistant city manager, Tom Bradford, who you may not recognize him because he's wearing a shirt and tie now. Our city manager's a lovely jacket. That's just that's just adorable. Our poor chief of police, he had to come in this regular. We'll have to see you in some kind of costume someday. All right, Capital Projects Manager, Mark Petroni, who's right behind me. Finance Director, Candace Blake, who I don't see here at the moment. Director of Planning and Economic Development, Christy Fisher, she's behind me as well. City Clerk, Megan Alexander, the one that looks like the little Santa Claus over there. Recreation Director, Erin Murphy, she's not here at the moment. Director of Public Works, Mark Picarello, who is right here as well. City Attorney, John Carey, who's up here as well. He keeps us out of court. Huffman Resources Director, Human, I cannot read either way, with or without them. Human Resource Director, Jennifer Curran, she's not here at the moment. Building Official, Dan Ferry's not here either. Not all members are pictured, but this is our leadership staff right here. So we're very, very happy to have them. They are very task focused, and they do it. By the numbers, I'm just going to read them from here because I can't see that far. Okay, a quick overview of the city. We incorporated in 1959 to escape capture by the city of Melbourne. Maybe we could rephrase that. I don't think they're circling the wagons here. Our city is currently 10.76 square miles and provides excellent service with 138 full-time employees and 4 part-time employees. We have roughly 10,000 households, anywhere between 2 and 3 people per household, with a median property value of approximately $342,000. I never thought I'd be living in a house worth that much my entire life. This value is significantly higher than our neighbor to the south, Palm Bay, at $248,000, and higher than our other neighbor, Melbourne, at $273,000. As you can see, our rent is a bit higher than theirs, but that's understandable as the value of our properties are higher. Our community is predominantly made up of residents who live here, and 75% is owner-occupied. Our residents do well here, too. West Melbourne median household income is $91,000, and again, better than Palm Bay at $68,000 and Melbourne at $65,000. I'm very proud to provide you with the last number. We have 234 acres of parkland, and we put the play in live, work, and play. 234 acres. I'm amazed it's that much. More numbers. We finally passed the milestone of 30,000 residents of our population. West Melbourne is mostly landlocked by the city of Palm Bay to our south and Melbourne to our north, east, and west. Landlocked might sound a bit bleak, but that's actually very positive. Our city knows exactly how big we're going to be, and we can plan accordingly, which helps us financially quite a bit to know where we're going. And that's exactly what we do very well. We plan for the future, and more slides to come on that subject. Our city has just a touch more women than men, which is pretty reflective of the entire state. Our population is predominantly made up of adults between 18 and 64, with teenagers coming in at 22%. I'm also proud to announce that we have 10% veterans in our city. Are there any veterans here? Thank you for your service, veterans. No, thank you. Finally, our millage rate. We provide incredible service to every resident for a low rate of $1.88 per $1,000 in value of your property. So I think that's pretty good value for your property. The second lowest in Brevard County. We work hard and we do it extremely fiscally responsible manner. More numbers. Okay, a 2024 highlight. West Melbourne was awarded close to $36 million in grants. The reason for this high figure is that the state and our legislative delegation recognizes that we have great projects and that benefit all. Additionally, with our AA bond rating, all recognize that we are a good risk. If we say we have a project ready, everyone knows that we're going to complete it and do it with excellence in mind. We've had over $86 million of net new construction with over 3,500 building permits processed. They're busy at City Hall. Our general fund reserve increased by $2 million due to keeping a close eye on spending. We also went through the process of approving the comprehensive plan. Again, we know the true meaning of careful planning. As far as the community collaboration goes, we far exceed expectations. A total of 65 public meetings were held, and the elected officials up here attended over 1,000 outreach meetings. And I know because every day on my calendar is filled with some meeting somewhere. All right, and more highlights. Again, 234 acres of parks. I love that number. I'm so glad that we have that land available to have a park. I hope that you take advantage of that as well. We do recognize that sometimes weather can be a challenge. We recently awarded a contract to begin the Westbrook Flood Reduction Project in mid-February of this year, and we had a ribbon cutting following the completion of a drainage in line project to reduce floods in the Melbourne Estates neighborhood, which is right off Henry, Basso, Stevenson, those roads in there. We finished a drainage project in there. To further help with flooding events, we regularly maintain and provide updates to the canals that run through the neighborhood. The Public Works crew has an incredible piece of equipment called the Menzie Muck. It is so fun to watch. It is fun to watch, actually. It looks like a crab walking around, and it's just throwing mud and sludge everywhere. It easily navigates steep canal banks and makes sure that tree limbs and debris stay out of our canals to allow stormwater to flow. And because we love the Indian River Lagoon, we're about to begin our next septic to sewer project, where we take homes that are now on septic and we convert them over to sewer to, again, help the land around, and that it isn't leaching into our water and eventually into the lagoon. We also have a tree preservation ordinance that keeps the canopy in place so they stop stripping the lots until it's time to build them. In our tree preservation ordinance, they actually go out and count all the trees that are on that piece of land before they start cutting them down, and then they have to account for those trees. They have to save as many as they can, and they have to contribute to a tree bank to replace those trees. So I'm very happy that we have that. Some measures of success. All right, well, we just did this. Public meetings, 65. We'd like to have your voices heard. Over 130,000 of our residents have visited our website. We have 758 subscribers to stay up to date with our digital e-newsletter, the Weekly Roundup, which I hope some of you have signed up for that, the Weekly Roundup. Yes, I see some heads knocking. Yes, that tells you what has gone on in the city every week. It comes out Fridays in your mailbox. It tells you exactly what's going on in the city. West Melbourne is a thriving business community of over 2,100 businesses. And again, we were awarded over $35 million in grant dollars. Every grant dollar we receive is one less dollar we have to ask residents to pay. Back to the tax rate. There we are down there. We are the second lowest. The only town around us that is lower than us is Grant Valcaria, and I think you will agree we have a lot more amenities than Grant Valcaria. So your $1.88 per thousand is coming back to you, hand over. Police department. There's one of my favorite subjects. So our police department, Part 1 crimes are down 4.5%. Part 1 violent crimes are down 22.7%. Part 2 crimes down 1.6%. Drug arrests are up, and DUI arrests are up. Traffic stops are up 40%. So we've asked our police to be very vigilant of the traffic that's out here and do what they need to do. And as you can see, traffic stops are up. Traffic citations are up, traffic warnings are up, and parking citations are up. So thank you very much, Chief, for taking care of that for us. Thank you. The picture that you see at the bottom, that is our new Pterodyne. Pterodyne, not pterodactyl. Pterodyne. Yes, that is our new command center, our mobile command center. We are very, very happy to have that, and it should be here soon. They're building it. They build them custom every time. And our police officer applicants, you've seen just how the applications go. We had many applications in 2015, and it kind of subsided a little bit, and now it's on its way back up for people that want to come here and want to go through the academy and want to be a police officer in West Melbourne. 2024 major projects. I'm almost done with this, by the way. 2024 major projects. The Park System Master Plan, the new building department building. Water utility infrastructure projects, Melbourne Estates flood risk reduction, which I just mentioned earlier, raw water conveyance projects. I don't know if you're aware or not, but we're building our own potable water plant. So in January of 2027, when you turn on the tap, that'll be West Melbourne water that you'll be getting, and no longer will it be Melbourne water, so it won't have that aquarium taste to it, and it will be state-of-the-art, brand new everything, and I'm sure we'll have a grand opening and a ribbon cutting, and come on down and see it. The Shallow Creek, which is Norfolk Shallow Creek Traffic Signal Project, was solicited for bids and should be awarded shortly. If you live in Sawgrass Lakes, you'll appreciate that down there. And last but not least, the water plant is moving right along, which I just did that commercial for that. All right, let's move along. Here there are a few examples of some great events, openings, ribbon cuttings held in the last year. The community park held a ribbon cutting for the revamped fields with pour-in-place improvements. That's at Cushy. When you walk on it, it's cushy, and it helps for the people who are disabled and they fall. It's not quite as hard as landing on concrete. And the council attended grand openings in the Sunflower House. Sunflower House is located just behind the Field of Dreams Park. It's a house there, and it's all been renovated, so we use that now as a building. Citizens Leadership Academy, Police Citizens Academy, West Melbourne Heritage Day 2024, and food share events. So these, the Leadership Academy goes on throughout all of the city buildings, and the Citizens Police Academy is at our police department across the street. If you haven't already gone through that, I would encourage you to sign up for it. It's very enlightening. You'll get a different idea of what actually goes on behind the scenes. West Melbourne Heritage Day and the food share events goes on at our community park over here. I'm sure sometimes you see them going on and wonder what all the traffic is about. Well, that's what's going on. Some great examples of things that are coming here are the Integra Artemis, which is at US 192 and St. John's Heritage Parkway, 320 units, the Westover Warehouse Project, Fifth Third Bank, which is right up the street here at 192 and Meadow Lane, and Sunrise Estates Townhome Project, which apparently is coming soon. Urgent care, if you're wondering what that building is that's being built right there at the corner of Milwaukee and Minton, that's a dock in the box. Medfast, right there. That's what they call them, right? Dock in the box? It's called a dock in the box. And the subdivision that you see that it's being built slowly, but it's right on Minton, right as you go over 95, and you're wondering what world is going to be built there. It's a 55-home subdivision, probably one of the last single-family subdivision that's going to be built in West Melbourne. And the new building department. Here's a picture of. This is the new department, which will be the new city hall, and we will no longer be having our city council meetings here. We'll be having them across the street in that building right there, city council chambers, and that should open up early in 2026. So I'm real excited to see that. Been a lot of talk about that. And here we are back to our water plant. Our water plant is an RO plant. So it's the water you will be receiving starting 2027 is not out of Lake Washington. It's reverse osmosis water, which is the best quality water that you can get, which of course is why we're going to have it. I'm so excited and thrilled to be part of this. And it has a relatively small footprint. It doesn't take acres and acres of land to do it because everything is so high tech now these days. I'm out of papers, that means I'm done. So this is the highlight of the city for the 2024, and we'll do this again about this time next year when you'll see where we are on all of these projects. So thank you very much. Nobody else calls it a dock in the box? Oh, urgent care. Okay, all right, we'll get on with the next thing, the modification of there are no modifications and public hearings. Do we have any public hearings? No? Okay, all right, thank you. We had a proposed,
I'd like to make a motion that we table 5A until the March 18th, 2025 meeting.
thank you. We have a motion to table 5A. I thought we already were putting this to the 18th. Are we not, or we need a motion to do this?
You need a motion.
Recommendation,
We tabled
thank
it
you.
until this meeting, so we have to retable it until the 18th.
Thank you. Reading is fundamental. Thank you very much, Mr. Frampus. Mr. Bentley?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor of tabling this to the March 18th meeting, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Thank you very much. This will be tabled and brought up at the March 18th meeting. Public forum. Anything for public forum? No one still wants to talk on this subject? Okay. All right. Well, this is easy. And if speaker cards, consent agenda. I need to motion and a second. Mr. Bentley.
Yeah, I'd make a motion we approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Frampus?
Second?
All right. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, say nay. Consent agenda is approved. All right, let's go on to action agenda, non-consent. Parking accessibility improvements for the Sunflower House. Mr. Picciarello, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy
Evening.
members. I'll stay within 3 minutes. No. This is a project that we were looking at to do for a while, since the Sunflower House became leased out for what it's used now. So what we're looking to do is just extend a parking lot in the driveway to give the tenants a little more room, and instead of parking on the grass, to park on an asphalt driveway, which makes it a little more safer for them attending the functions there. So this is just a small little project. We budgeted $35,000 to do this. We get about 12 parking spots with a lane in between, so it gives them a little more room to have accessibility and make it a little more safer for them. So it's, we'd like to approve the award contract to Adrian Turnbull Construction in the amount of $32,550,000.
All right, thank you. Ms. Adams?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick question, whether for Mr. Picciarello or potentially for Mr. Rohde. How would this project, looking at it from that, while I think it's great, the safety and accessibility aspect, are we expecting any issues if we move forward with the project compared to including the rest of the community park in the Parks Master Plan? Because I know we're looking at it from like a whole picture, and the fact that Sunflower House is right next to it, I was just wondering if that would have any impact.
Yeah, we've talked about, the community center, and we definitely need to circle back and continue the discussion on the community center. If the community center were to go here, wouldn't have any impact. If the community center were to go somewhere else other than the park, wouldn't have any impact. But some of the layouts that we've looked at, if it were to go to the community park, include having having this house stay. And so this parking, there is always a chance that this additional parking may be part of a loop or may be part of something that would kind of connect with the possibility of a new community center. But we also recognize that there is a absolute lack of parking right now, and so there's a lot of parking on the grass, and when it's rainy, we have seniors eating there for the meals event, and then they have their sessions there for the different services that they provide. And so providing some stable parking would be, I think, money well spent. And, in the future, if we end up having a loop there and it gets redone, there is a chance that, this money would kind of be lost money, but there's also, a chance that nothing goes there, and then we take care of parking for this building for whoever go. I mean, right now we lease it out to the Sunflower House, but in the future, leasing it out to somebody else, there's always going to be an issue for parking. So we wanted to kind of tackle this project and get it get that problem solved. And, ultimately there is a risk that something else goes there and we might have to alter this parking. But right now, certainly want to try to solve a problem.
Understood. The right-hand side of the diagram has that it's a handicap stall with access aisle, but I don't see a specific number in terms, do we know how many of these spots will be handicap for accessibility versus non-handicap?
There'll be one.
Okay. So one total? Okay. With this in mind, I'd like to make a motion to award the contract in the amount given on our staff packet for the parking and accessibility improvements for the Sunflower House.
Thank you. Mr. Frampus? Yes, sir? Question?
Considering what the house is being used for now, mostly elderly people coming for this, wouldn't it make more sense to have more handicap rather than just the one? I know we're required only to have one due to the amount of spaces, but wouldn't it just make sense to?
It would, but we're dealing with the $35,000 that was budgeted for it. So if we make more handicap spots, now it creates less room.
This was budgeted on the fly anyhow, wasn't it? It wasn't like,
Yes.
so couldn't we increase it by 5,000 to increase a couple more spots? It just makes sense to me.
Sure, we could pave as big as much as we want using the back there, yes. It's just coming up with a number and what we want to invest into that, yes.
Is it, what's everybody think? I just,
I had the same thinking, which is why I asked about how many spots there were, but my initial thoughts are,
I'd rather spend a little bit more money and, that's what most people that go there, I don't know.
right,
I don't know if y'all spend any time at those classes, but, there's a lot of elderly that go there and really could use those spots,
How much extra would one more handicap spot?
or several more.
Yeah.
Ms. Bowles, I have Mr. Bentley
Oh,
before
I'm
you.
sorry.
But do we know any numbers? Do we, to put more spots there, what it would cost?
It would just make the footprint bigger, so.
$5,000
We do have room to make the footprint bigger. We were just going with, like I said, what this was budgeted as, so this is what the plan that we came up with. But, if you guys want to go bigger, that's not an issue. There's plenty of room there. So we can look at it.
I would love to see an option for more spots. And, with the 66 feet wide, is that going to remove that tree to the south of the property, the south of the house? Do you have to remove any of the trees for
No,
this?
no.
So we essentially could even go on the north side of the driveway too, right?
Correct.
Add space over there? Couldn't we just throw a couple where you just turn right out of the driveway, right into a,
Yeah, we could
into a
square the
slot
top
there,
off.
like having,
Yeah, we were trying to stay away from that because unfortunately the well is right there also on the corner of the house. But we could probably throw another spot in there, possibly two, which wouldn't be.
I would love to approve it as is with some options of putting maybe two more slots in addition to either to the north or this added space. I don't know what you would think, or you want to just delay it until we come up with a different plan? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, it shouldn't be that much more if we're adding two more spots to the north. Because the driveway's already there, so all we're doing is another 12 feet going north for the parking spot and another 24 feet coming across.
Mr.
So
Rowe, you
it's
have any
not gonna be
thoughts?
that much crazy.
We installed, code requires one handicap spot, so we put one handicap spot.
Get it.
And if we want to give a $5,000, call it call it a contractor credit to see how much more paving we can get for 5,000. We certainly can get, 2 handicap spots, and then that'll give us whatever 5,000, whether that ends up giving us another 30 feet or another 15 feet.
Your limit's 25,000, right?
Well, that's why this project, is in front of the council.
Stand by. If we approve this and we give you direction, you could approve up to 25,000 on top of that, right?
Not, because it's part of this project, so we can't
If it's
piecemeal.
on the other side of the existing thing, it's a new project, isn't it? I'm just,
Thank you, Mr. Frampus.
Well, I think if you add 5,000 to the budget, that'll give us more room to get, at least 2 or 3 more.
Mr. Bentley?
I was just going to ask if she wanted to modify her motion.
Well, let's hear what others,
Okay.
we might be
I'll listen.
modifying even more.
Thank you, Mayor. My personal feeling, kind of offhand, is I don't like the idea of going on the north side, and now you're putting parking, getting closer to the front of the house, and I don't know that I would do that, but you've got a parking area. I would make, personally, probably the first 4 spaces handicap and throw, 7,500 or 5K, 7,500 at it, and if you don't need it all, fine. But that way, we don't get back involved over $1,000 or $2,000. So I would just, ask you guys to make that part of your motion to add, say, 7,500. They're only going to spend what they need to, and make 4 spaces. That, I think Steve's exactly right. It's the elderly group that's using those spaces, and it's just not that too much money at this point. Excuse me. Well, I would make them on the space you got here. Yes, going south maybe another 4 or 5 feet. That might run you into that tree then. Well, let us know.
See, we could probably go east a little bit more too.
Yeah.
I mean, the drawing's obviously not to scale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The drawing to show you where,
Looks pretty close.
yeah, the tree's back there. I think it's,
So I trust you guys to work it out and not take our tree down. And, we'll put 7,500 in there. If it costs less, that's great. I expect it will. It doesn't seem to like it's much more than a little bit of asphalt and paint. So, it shouldn't be too expensive. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Volz.
Yeah, what I was thinking, just along those lines, is the first 4 parking spots could be handicap and the rest not. And maybe, instead of putting the, writing on the ground and all that, if you could just put up a sign, and then if there's no need for that, then you can just remove the sign rather than, have to repaint everything. So that's just what I was thinking, because cost-wise, how much really does it cost to do no painting and just put up a sign?
Thank you, Ms. Volz. Ms. McGuire?
Actually turn this on. Yeah, I was going to say, I actually agree with not going further north on that. Just because, I think it was mentioned, there is that well up there, and we don't want anybody to drive normally. So I have no issues if we wanted to go ahead and change that to adding the extra space for those parking spots.
All right, Ms. Adams, do you want to modify your motion?
I'm happy to modify the motion to give the flexibility of spending no more than, I think, 7,500 over the amount that's requested. I think that'll give us the flexibility of the parking spaces, but also give staff direction that hopefully we don't have to use it all.
All right, thank you. Mr. Frampus, are you all right with that for your second? Yes. All right, thank you. All those in favor of approving this with the changes we've just discussed signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Thank you very much.
okay. Number 2 on the agenda is the second part from last council meeting. This is the budgeted money that we got from a grant for $150,000. So this would be replace the existing 60-inch corrugated pipe on technology that runs north and south on the easement there. So again, we're like I said, for the 150,000 we got, we were able to replace 160 feet of the 60-inch metal corrugated pipe located on Technology Drive. And this does get us to where we do have a hole in the pipe. You could see in your picture that you have, there's a cone sticking up. So this gets us past that critical pipe, that critical section in the pipe. So it helps us out very much with that. And then it buys us time, whether we put more money in for next year's budget, it gives us time to do the rest of the pipe going all the way to the canal.
Is that the 340 number in the picture? 340 feet for future replacement?
Yes, yes. Yeah, so the red in the picture is what we're replacing, 160 feet. They'll install a box at the end of that, so when we decide to continue forward with that, we go from the box, which makes it an easier installation for the remaining. So whether we get more grant money for next year, it's a possibility, we can go that route, but like I said, the critical part is where the hole in the pipe is, where it's worn through, so this gets us to that section. So it's my recommendation that the council approve and award the contract to Citriform Technologies through the piggyback contract at number 23065 PW with DuPage County, Illinois, in the amount of $149,800 to replace the pipe, and this is going to go through the Omnia partner, which we belong to also.
All right, thank you. What's the wishes of the council? I'm looking for a motion. Mr. Frampus?
Make a motion, we approve the contract to Instaform Technologies for the cost of $149,800 as written.
All right, thank you. Ms. McGuire?
Second?
Thank you. Lights are going. Mr. Frampus, do you have a question? No? All right, thank you. All of those in favor of authorizing the city manager to award the contract signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Piccirillo. Item C is yours as well.
Mark, that was covered under the grant, right?
Correct, yes.
The whole amount?
Yes.
Thank you.
This is a existing 48-inch concrete drainage pipe culvert. Years back, this was possibly going to be part of the Melbourne Estates project to replace it, along with some other improvements. But as that was evolving and the prices were getting more high, this culvert was taken out. So what we're looking to do is extend the concrete culvert that's existing. I don't know if anybody's ever driven by there, but the west side of the road is right up against the edge of the wall where the pipe is. It's very narrow there. So what we're looking to do is just extend both ends of the culvert, give us a little more room, and install 2 new head walls. So that area would be shored up a little bit better for passing motorists. So we have a proposal from Citriform Technologies to extend the existing 48 concrete storm drainage culvert pipe at the intersection of Lake Court and Henry Ave. Currently, like I mentioned, the edge of the road is right on top of the storm pipe on the west side. So this gets us away, makes it safer for the motoring public.
Thank you.
It's my recommendation that City Council approve the award contract to Citriform Technologies again through the piggyback contract at number 23-065 PW with DuPage County, Illinois, in the amount of $134,550. And you could see that we had budgeted $150,000 for this repair.
All right, thank you. What's the wishes of the council? I'm looking for a motion and a second. Anybody? Ms. Volz?
Yes, I'll make the motion to go ahead and approve this item.
All right, thank you. Mr. Gaylord?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Mr. Frampus, you have a question?
Yeah, Mark, the head wall you're talking about putting in, that's going to extend the slope off of the roadway? Is that what that's for?
Yeah,
or-
so what we're doing is we're pushing, the east side's gonna go out 2 sections of 8-inch pipe, so the east end's gonna go out 16 feet with a new head wall. The west side is gonna get a 4-inch box plus a 8-foot section of pipe, and then a new head wall.
And then the lane on the side of the road, is that going to, when you put the new head wall in, does that get filled in with
Yes,
dirt?
that'll be all
So-
filled in, correct. So that's why we're pushing both ends out, so that we could fill in.
With soil though, not, and we're not making the lane.
paving it.
Yeah, we're not making the lane bigger. We're just adding soil to help stabilize that area.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Volz, do you still have a question?
Oh, nope, sorry.
No? All right. All those in favor of awarding the contract, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay? Mr. Gaylord, did you have a? Okay, all right. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Item D, Public Works 2024-2025 Budget Amendment for 2023-2024.
Yes, this came to council back on January 16, 2024, for the approval of the rehabilitation of Wickham Road, lift station number 105. Due to logistics with electrical components for the lift station, we received them at the end of July of 24. And unfortunately, Danish Construction, who won the bid award to do the job, wasn't able to schedule it in time. So as you can see, they completed the job this January 25. So we're asking that the $145,000 that is needed to complete the job, that came out to $204,000. So we're asking if that money could be brought over this year so we could pay the contractor.
All right, thank you. That's your recommendation? All right, thank you. Mr. Gaylord?
Mr. Piccirillo, I was talking to Mr. Rohde about this earlier, just as a point of clarity. So part of the reason that this work wasn't able to be done during 24 or last year's fiscal year was because of scheduling issues, but we were anticipating being able to complete it before the end of the fiscal year, which is part of the reason why it got pushed into this year. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and the second part of that is coming out of the COVID era, all electronical components were back ordered for quite a long time. A lot of the distributors wouldn't give us or couldn't give us an exact date when we'd receive some of the components. And actually, we ordered the components back in 23 after October 1st of 23 budget. So they didn't come in until the end of July of 24.
Got it.
So that was
Okay.
part of.
And just for point of clarity, there's no this isn't saying there's unforeseen costs or anything associated with it. That's just all what was budgeted for the project. It's just this portion had to be paid this year, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, the project came in under budget, but the wrong budget year. Instead of getting it completed by, October 1 of last year, it got completed after that. And so we always want to keep the books clean. And so we do the budget amendment so that when during the audit next year, that's going to reflect that those changes were made. And again, I think members of the council, we don't bring a lot of budget amendments. When these projects get delayed, that's typically when we have to bring a budget amendment, but we don't, 2 or 3 budget amendments a year is about all we do.
Mr. Gaylord, are you making the motion?
Yeah, I'll make the motion that we accept the 24-25 budget amendment for the rehabilitation of Wickham Road Lift Station 105.
Thank you. Mr. Frampus?
Second with a question.
With a question, please, go ahead and answer.
Mark, you said 204,990, but the resolution says 145,000 to bring the budget change. So I just wanted to make sure you recommended 204,000, but we're only asking.
Yeah, we already have.
I just wanted to make
yep.
sure that we were clear on the motion.
We've got 60 in the budget already, so
That's what I figured, but it's not what was said.
sorry about that.
Okay.
All right, we have a,
You're making this motion, right? Not the 204,000. It's 145.
thank you. All right, we have a motion, Mr. Gaylord. We have a second, Mr. Frampus. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay. The motion carries. Thank you very much. Item E is yours as well? No? Item E is Mr. Petroni's.
One mark's done, the other mark.
Task order engineering services during construction. Mr.
Yes, good evening,
Petroni.
Mayor, Deputy Mayor, City Council members. Yeah, this agenda item is to discuss the task order for engineering services for the new RO water treatment plant. As I believe everybody's aware, our relationship with Hazen started back in 2019 with their first task order for the feasibility study to determine if the new RO water plant was even feasible. That was followed up by many more, including the preliminary design report, as well as the final design and specifications. They've been assisting us and working with us. They met with us, and we also hosted the contractors forum that introduced the city and this project to qualified contractors. They also provided some follow-up information that assisted the city when we were going through our bond qualifications to get a better rate. And then they also were a little bit resistant, but worked with me trying to get the bid documents kind of modified, which I think really helped getting our project, the bids came out with qualified contractors and actually came in under budget. They've been very instrumental and a great partner to work with through our whole, we've been on a very interesting journey for water independence. The water plant feasibility study, this task order for this is attached to this for you to take a look at. With the start of construction rapidly approaching, the construction contract was approved and signed in January, and we are pushing hard to meet the deadline of August 2026. So I believe this task order is really needed. There's some specialty items in this project. It's a big project. So fiscally, it's all been part of our water treatment plant budget, so there's nothing really negative or different to discuss on that end. And with all that, I'm always here for questions, but I'm here to recommend that you approve entering into the task order for the engineering services during construction for our new water treatment plant with Hazen and Sawyer.
Thank you. Mr. Gaylord.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve the task order for engineering services for the construction of the water treatment plant with a question. So during,
Need a second.
I need a second? Okay. Good. Give me a second.
Second, someone? Thank you, Mr. Frampus. All right, Mr. Gaylord, your question?
The question is related to what I discussed with Mr. Rohde earlier today. In the contract documents, it states that the city is going to have an individual providing oversight during the execution of the contract. Is that the new water plant director?
Well, we've got a pretty good team. This task order is for the engineer that drafted the plans and all that to kind of oversee a lot of specialty items. We have the new water treatment plant director coming on board, which I'm hoping is going to participate.
Yep.
I'm going to be very active. We have a new city engineer. We have our water plant, our water supervisor, Mr. T-Bear. We're going to have pretty much every part of our public works is going to have hands-on, and including the building department.
Great. Thanks.
All right, thank you. We have a motion. Mr. Gaylord, we have a second, Mr. Frampus. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you. Next item, item F, interlocal agreement with Florida Department of Transportation for the creation of the Metropolitan Planning Organization. Thank you.
Good
Thank you,
evening,
Tom. Mr.
Mayor, members of
Bradford,
council.
thank you.
So this is an item every 5 years that comes before you. The state reviews and approves the transportation plan, the various transportation planning organizations throughout the state. West Melbourne participates in the Space Coast Transportation Planning Organization and has for some time. We do have projects on their list, including Ellis, as well as some Minton intersection improvement projects. You know, nothing really new here. It's just every 5 years this comes before you for approval to remain a participating member of the organization. So it's our recommendation that you authorize the city manager to sign the agreement on behalf of the city.
All right, thank you. Mr. McGuire, I'm sorry, Ms. McGuire.
Mister. I'll make the motion that we authorize the city manager to sign the interlocal agreement with the TPO on behalf of the city.
Thank you. Is there, Mr. Frampus? Second. Thank you very much. All those in favor of the interlocal agreement signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Mr. Bradford, thank you. G, all right, contracting with Corcoran and Associates.
Thank you, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and City Council. About 18 months ago, the City of West Melbourne started contracting for lobbying services and had a good relationship and had some success getting some state appropriations for some stormwater projects, some of which were mentioned tonight. I think that relationship has been pretty good and certainly been a good return on the investment. Our past lobbyist is no longer in the lobbying business, and so he made a recommendation to us while he was our lobbyist to take a look at this organization, which several of his communities migrated over to. We had several meetings with the group and found them to be very responsive, very well qualified, which is certainly what we're looking for in a lobbying organization. The other key element is they are not working for any of our neighboring communities, which is not necessarily a disqualifier, but you know, if you're going to pick a lobbyist, you prefer to have one that isn't also representing all the other communities around you, and just making sure their priorities lie, you know, their passion lies for the right community, so to speak. And so, again, this is up to the council. It's while it's under my spending authority, it's $2,000 a month. It is a month-to-month contract, but I certainly think that this is an item that came in front of the council before, and so wanted to bring it back in front of the council. And one of I just want to emphasize on the agreement. The agreement is almost word for word with the past agreement. Again, it's every 30 days, so this is not locking us in. You know, lobbying services are something that are very fluid. You know, you want to have people that are connected and working hard for us, and so we appreciate their flexibility to continue that language. That if there's, you know, ever a parting of the ways, it's just on a 30-day notice. So at any time, the city has the flexibility to end that agreement. But really, this is an item for the council to discuss if they're in favor of working with another lobbyist for state appropriations.
All right, thank you. Mr. Gaylord.
Wow, I keep getting to the punch first today. Mr. Rohde, can you provide some clarity for the public based on what we were talking about earlier today with, you know, some of the projects that our prior lobbyists helped us to get regarding state funding?
Yeah, kind of a return on the investment. You know, as an example, last year we spent about $24,000, you know, $2,000 a month on lobbying services, and cleared just around $1 million in state appropriations. And so certainly a good return on the investment. Obviously, several council members and staff worked with the lobbyist, and you know, it's not just solely on them, but their role is to keep the process moving. So not only, you know, getting projects put into the state budget, but the Brevard County delegation then supporting those and keeping them in the state budget. And then ultimately, the lobbyist worked with the governor to ensure that they weren't vetoed and remained in the budget. So there's several steps to that process in order to get state appropriations, and we certainly appreciated the work that he did on those for us. And so, in addition, we also need help from time to time with St. John's Water Management District, which is kind of the third arm of state government in this area in Central Florida. We do a lot of stormwater projects, and that permitting process can get held up at times, and so provided some assistance with that. And then also utilize the lobbyist for just general political concerns, right? So they have their pulse on what's going on, and so I would frequently check in with the lobbyist. What do the tea leaves read on this? What do you think on that? And just kind of get some general direction as to items that he thought had legs or items that we're not going to move forward at the state level, which was appreciated. So again, I had a good relationship with the past lobbyists. Talking with the new group, seem to have a really good relationship. They've been responsive to my conversations and the back and forth that we've had. The Corcoran Group certainly has a good reputation in the state, and so, they appear to be a good option. But again, this is really a council decision, not a city manager decision.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. We have a motion, Mr. Gaylord. We have a second. Oh, Ms. Adams?
He didn't make a motion.
Oh, we're supposed to do motion first.
Sorry. You didn't have to. Oh, did I not have to?
Can we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to contract with Corcoran and Associates.
Thank you, Mr. Gaylord. Ms. Adams?
I will second for discussion because I have questions.
All right, thank you. Please discuss.
Thank you. I had asked Mr. Rohde if it was feasible to have representatives from their association here. However, with legislative session also being here, that was not going to be an option tonight, which is unfortunate. Mr. Rohde, can you speak to their experience with securing funds for infrastructure, specifically water plant projects?
So they have a long track record, much larger projects than ours. They've represented Tampa Bay and some larger communities on some bigger projects. Tampa Bay, I mentioned Tampa Bay only because they're right now in the state, they're doing some very revolutionary water and sewer initiatives that are much I certainly don't feel comfortable with their, one of the initiatives that Tampa Bay is taking on is kind of something that we've mentioned before, which is that closed loop water and sewer process. So, not to gross anybody out here, but, making water and then putting it through your sewer plant and then recycling it from your sewer plant to go back through your water plant. And so that's something a little beyond what we were looking at, but Tampa Bay certainly is getting a national recognition for kind of looking at some kind of cutting edge and futuristic process, and so they've been involved with that. But they certainly, well, it certainly can be done. It's just a little, it would.
Don't tell anybody what you're doing.
Yeah, it would be a little bit out there for our needs and our size community. And so we have very good raw water, and so we don't really have that issue of not having enough water to make water. So that's not really something for us. But I certainly a lot of years of experience, and we did actually have a meeting with them with our last lobbyist when we were exploring the possibility of a federal level lobbyist. Our previous lobbyist put us in contact with them, and we had an hour-long Zoom meeting and talked about some of those options. And but so we have known them now for a couple of years. I wasn't personally familiar with the firm until that meeting, but certainly feel comfortable that they can accomplish the mission for us and lobby, equally as hard for the next set of projects.
I know I've already spoken with you about potential projects that we're going to be able to submit and then advocate for on behalf of the city. Are we expecting any projects that a lobbyist would be needed that wouldn't necessarily be infrastructure related?
I don't think so. We've got some really, part of this process is identifying projects that have good potential to be approved and not vetoed. And so our water plant is number one. Continuing to look at the Westbrook, kind of the next phases of Westbrook flood risk reduction is number two. And then as our Public Works Director mentioned tonight, the Technology Drive, while Technology Drive, the industrial park, it's, corrugated metal pipe in the ground in Florida wasn't ideal to do, but unfortunately it was done 40 years ago, and there's plenty of corrugated metal pipe in that, around that Ellis Technology Drive loop that needs more attention. And so I think that's kind of project number 3, and certainly have heard from several council members that trying to push the envelope to try to see if we can secure some more funds than we have in past years. Again, for some of the new council members, for the public, we have traditionally not asked for this money. This is something that's been newer for West Melbourne, going back only 3 years when Mayor Rose and at the time Councilman Bentley reached out to, I think, Randy Fine and Debbie Mayfield and first started those conversations. And part of those conversations were suggestions of, what you really, if you really want to try to secure money, you should think about securing a lobbyist to bring that money home, to help bring that money home. Everybody has a role in getting that money, and I think this council's been very active, working with the legislature and staff putting the documents together, but ultimately having somebody up at Tallahassee that is also working on behalf is probably money well spent.
Thank you.
Mr. Frambus?
So I was a little confused when you mentioned the Tampa project. I didn't know if that was a plus or a minus against the company. It sounded like you didn't like the project, but
well, they have helped. It's just a project that I have a hard time wrapping my head around. Yeah, taking any sewer water and putting it into
do they
the water
also
plant.
help with the septic to sewer funding, grant funding? Or?
Yeah, so they will provide any state or county assistance.
That's state, right?
But no federal. This agreement does not cover any federal assistance.
Do you have any reservations that they're based out of Tampa and not local?
No, because I think really all the work gets done in Tallahassee. So.
Well, if they're dealing with county stuff.
County would be local. They have no problem traveling. They have representatives all over the state, and so they have no problem getting involved in Brevard County.
And have we checked with any lobbying firms other than them?
This is the only firm that I've reached out to get a number. They certainly, came highly recommended, and the fact that they would essentially take the existing contract that is now almost a year and a half old and hold that price to try to get the business, I thought was an aggressive move.
And if not, you can just fire them after 30 days.
And if not, and, just like our last lobbyist, if, we don't think we're getting the results,
thank you.
We're only out 30 days.
Thank you. Mr. Bentley?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Doherty, I thought maybe my timing's a little bit mixed up. I know Hal Rose and I went and got the first bucket of money before Mr. Herodopoulos was involved. And then I thought Diana and I went and got the second bucket of money before Mr. Herodopoulos got involved. Where I think he may have had the ending part of it is we'd put it in through Randy Fine in his office, but I think something, you know, we were at risk of losing it with the governor at the end, and I thought that's where Mr. Herodopoulos maybe put in a good word for us, and he's a very powerful individual, obviously, within this area. So is that true?
That sounds right. Again, I wasn't involved in the first round. I know we put documents and information together for you guys to go do that, but.
Yeah, we didn't write the first word. Hal and I didn't write the first word. It was all city employees. In fact, he's sitting back there. I thought then you had also mentioned to me that Mr. Herodopoulos was looking at getting us, I thought it was on the order of $5 million for the water plant, and I haven't heard.
Yeah, so
I've heard nothing.
Great question. We submitted a $5 million federal appropriation now through Congressman Herodopoulos' office for the water plant. And so that's in, I want to say it doesn't go, the next round of federal budget was several months coming up, but everything had to be in by last month. And so we did submit that to, and are working with Mr. Herodopoulos' staff to shepherd that process along.
So he's going to finish what he started on that, even though technically he's off on a new job. You don't know?
Well, we submitted the application. Yeah, we submitted the application, and he's, certainly, good that we have a good relationship with him.
Yeah, we do.
With our congressman.
And I think he's kind of in the position to know who the next good guys are to have as a contracting company for us to work with. And so if that was, and I think that was his recommendation. Right?
It's definitely his recommendation. And, like I said, we did meet with them. I'm looking at Tom, maybe a year and a half ago, we did meet with the Corcoran group, looking at some other options, but ultimately stuck with Mike.
Yeah, I would still support what he recommended. I mean, I think he was the president of the Senate, so I mean, he's a very powerful individual in Tallahassee. So I think he wouldn't steer us wrong. He's a good guy. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Foltz.
Yeah, what I like is the fact that he does not represent any other city. Because if he's going to fight for something in Brevard, it's going to be for us. So I think that is a pretty important fact. So I will definitely be supporting this.
And speaking of supporting this, all right, so we have a motion, Mr. Gaylord. We have a second, Ms. Adams. And all those in favor to authorize the city manager to execute an agreement with Corcoran and Associates for services effective March 5th through 2025 through February 28th, 2026, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you very much. That was a good conversation there. And I went out to Mr. Herodopoulos' office with a copy of our water plant plan and asked them for the $5 million. And they were very receptive. So.
And asked nicely.
I did ask very, very nicely. Yes, I did. Okay, all right, council reports. Diana Adams.
Keep it short tonight, I promise. Just a quick note that I know quite a few of us were able to go to the Melbourne Estates project, kind of opening of that section that was finished through city work. I did get resident questions about why that was sort of an event, so I just thought I would bring it up in a council report because we had not only city investment in this project, but there was quite a few, from my understanding, partnerships that helped make this happen. And so typically not every city infrastructure project like this gets recognition like that, but I just thought that I would share because you may also have residents in your area or neighborhood that asked why was this project any different than some of the other infrastructure ones that we did? So I thought that was well done in recognizing those partnerships, but I'm sure the people that live in those neighborhoods and off of those roads will be very glad that it's now completed and finished. And then just a quick reminder that we do have Cops on the Coop coming up to support the Special Olympics. So if you're available, come on out. Thank you. See, I'm going to keep it short.
Thank you. Ms. Volz.
Yes, I was also at that ribbon cutting, and it just did seem a little odd that we were at the end of the street and there was no ribbon to cut and nothing like that. But it was good. The residents, really appreciated all the work that was done over there. And I thought the mayor did an amazing job also over at Promise when she gave the state of the city over there. So you did a great job there. And I will also be at Chick-fil-A on Friday. So we need to raise money. So if you want to just stop by and give money so we can get out of the coop.
There you go.
All right, thank you, Ms. Phelps. Mr. Bentley.
Thank you. I did attend the couple of things. One is the West Melbourne Business Association, and I think Mr. Rohde did a presentation, State of the City, and that really went, I think it went over well. I think you did a fantastic job, so thanks for your effort on that. That was impressive, so I was very happy the way you made the city look, so thanks for doing that. I also will be doing the Palm Bay Chamber tomorrow, but I attended Civ Mill last week, actually, along with a couple other people, and I asked Hal Rose to come along at that meeting. As most of you know, he's our former mayor, and he got a recognition award from Civ Mill, really nice plaque, recognized by all the folks there from both, Patrick Air Force Base, the military there, and the civilian population. I think it really touched him. He was not expecting it. Went over really well. So congratulations to our former mayor for that award. That was really a nice event, and I think it really touched him. So thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Gaylord.
I just wanted to second what Mr. Bentley was saying about the WNBA event. That presentation was very good, so thank you for that, Mr. Rohde. I also had the pleasure of covering for Ms. Adams for the Board of Adjustment meeting, and I now hold the record for the quickest Board of Adjustment meeting so far.
Thank you, Mr. Gaylord. Ms. McGuire.
No report.
Thank you, Mr. Frampus.
Just that I attended the same events these guys did, and then besides that, no other report. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Frampus. And in addition to the things that we've just mentioned, I was very honored to go to the crisis intervention training graduation for our officers. We had 3 officers there this time, and I think, I don't remember how many we had the last time, but it was really, really good, and I'm so glad the chief was there. I was there, so West Melbourne was well represented, that we support our officers, and I'm hoping that we have officers trained every year so we can continue to do that, because that was very important. Officer Kennedy was one of them, and I don't remember the other. And LaRosa, okay. They did a great job. Also, last night, I got to go to troop number, our scout troop number 314, which has traditionally been our West Melbourne troop. And I got to speak with them over at the Wesley Fellowship Hall. And they got to check 3 of their badges for citizenship and probably listening to the longest-winded mayor. And they got to play Stump the Mayor and ask questions. And I was fortunately able to answer them. That would have looked really bad if I couldn't, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun, and they gave me a plaque which is wood, and it's wood burned, wood burning. So with their thank you on it was very nice, very touching. I'll be at Cops at the Coop on Friday. Thank you for reminding me. Anything else from this board here before we move into management reports? Okay, management reports. Mr. Rohde.
Well, I'm going to start negative, and then I'm going to turn it over to the police chief to end on the positive side. As we sent the email out, and we've been working with the Ashley Manor subdivision, septic to sewer. Our contractor that was awarded the project that has done numerous projects in the city of West Melbourne, YCOM, which is now True Line, We did receive a letter on Friday from them saying that they are going to be, looks like they're going to be closing their doors. We're about $850,000 into a $7.5 million project with them for the septic to sewer. We will be putting a communication piece together and getting it out at the end of the week. We're just trying to get a few more answers to some of the obvious questions that we just are trying to get our arms around yet. But I really want to thank the staff, Mark Petroni, Tom Bradford, Candace Blake, Mark Piccirillo, myself. We got some rumors Thursday night around 5 and stayed a couple hours to kind of think through how that might be if those rumors were true. And then that next Friday morning, we of course got the official word and pretty much scrambled most of Friday. The team did a tremendous job. You know, safety is our biggest concern. We wanted to make sure that the site was safe, and then securing any city assets and doing a good inventory. The team pulled together. We got the drone up. We took drone footage of the entire project just so that down the road, if there's litigation issues, we've got a great record of what's in the storage yard, what's actually done in the project. Reached out to the HOA president and have been working with the HOA president there, who's been a tremendous help to make sure we've now secured all the plates. We reached out to the contractor that has all the plates across the driveway to secure those so they don't disappear. We're working on finishing up the last of the safety items. We got all the big ones taken care of, but now we're just kind of cleaning up, and then ultimately getting a street sweeper in there to kind of clean up the whole area. Again, we unfortunately don't have a lot of answers. We don't know if they're just kind of reorganizing or, you know, if this is kind of the end of them, but we certainly will be getting the word out and working to explore all our options. Additionally, John Kerry's, City Attorney Kerry's been part of this process and has been a tremendous help. We're making notice on the bond and the surety to make sure that they're aware that there may be a claim coming. So, but I do want to just say one thing. We only pay for construction projects of anything that's in the ground and complete. And so this isn't a case where we've given them money and now we're going to dispute over it. We only pay for what's in the ground and what's installed. And so really, you know, we're working on the fine tuning of whether we still owe them a little money or not, but we're not in a position where they will owe us any money. And so that's the good thing about the situation with the city. And then, of course, we have the bonds to help for just this situation if the contractor pulls out and doesn't finish the job. And so we'll be working on a lot of these things. I apologize, I don't have a ton of answers, but happy to take any questions on the septic to sewer project.
Mr. Frempus?
How's that affect the grant?
So we'll be reaching out to the granting agencies. You know, we're in good shape with the grant because the project was moving well, and the project came in under the grant amount. And so we'll have to explore, you know, it would definitely be transferable to the next contractor. Yeah, it's not tied to YCOM in any fashion. It's tied to the project.
And are we actively looking for options for another contractor to kind of ethically pick up so that residents aren't?
Yeah, we you know, we did you know, ask the HOA president to forward that email that we sent out that you know, anticipating a couple-month delay. Again, they may reorganize and regroup, in which case they might finish the project. We have the option, they have the option if they want to assign the contract at the same dollar amount to another company. we could explore that option as long as all three parties would have to agree. So the new company, True Line, and the city would have to agree to that. Or we could rebid the project of the work that is left to do and go back to the marketplace and get a number. And so we're exploring all those options. It's only been a couple days, so we're still getting our arms around it. And then city attorney's been working on the surety and the bonding challenge that ultimately we may have to file for. So we're still working on that. We do have some options, but the slowest one would be rebidding, because it's going to take us, it's going to take us a month to put those documents together, a month of bidding, a month or two of contracts. I mean, it could be a 4 to 6 month delay if we have to do the full rebidding process, which is unfortunate. So on a more positive note, sorry to bring the room down. On a positive note, we held a pre-construction meeting in here this week for the water plant. We had 38 people in attendance. That's all the subcontractors, all the consultants, all the engineers, our whole team. We just had a phenomenal meeting with TLC. They are excited. They are ready. We're in the process of submitting documents back and forth for the engineer of record to approve and what we call shop drawings. And so that process is going on. And we are looking for a groundbreaking event sometime in early April. So they should have enough equipment out there. We always want equipment in the background of a groundbreaking. So we always want big trucks and piles of dirt and all that fun stuff. So that's moving. That was a great meeting, and really excited to have everybody in the room, share our excitement. They're just as excited as us to build this plant, and so looking forward to that. And then, Chief, on a positive note, I'll turn it back to you.
Can I ask you a question before
Absolutely,
we roll into the chief?
Absolutely, sir.
You had sent us all out an email, and I only bring this up because there could be delays. D.R. Horton has approached you about Norfolk Parkway, which through that could delay the light at Shallow Creek and Norfolk. Can you just publicly touch on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple months back, D.R. Horton is under new leadership locally, had a very nice pleasantries meeting. Ultimately, followed that meeting up a couple of weeks ago. They're looking at building some homes in Melbourne west of Sawgrass, and needed to get county and Melbourne, working with the county for connection to the parkway, working with Melbourne, obviously, because that's where they're going to be building the homes. And one of those elements is Norfolk and connecting to Norfolk and having Norfolk ultimately connect to the parkway. And so I informed him of the city ordinance. Wasn't quite sure where that would go, and then ultimately called and said that they would be interested in moving forward, paying to 4-lane Norfolk, what we're calling Norfolk East, which is the existing Norfolk. We're calling Norfolk West the Melbourne part of Norfolk, just so, just kind of common terminology that we've been using. And so we put together a handful of, kind of important items that would go into that project, and, asked the council if there were, anything else. We did get some feedback, and we will include that in those conversations with them. But ultimately, we'll start working on an agreement, and then that agreement obviously will come back to the city council and memorialize that relationship. And so to your question of the signalized intersection at Shallow Creek and Norfolk, we did bid that project. We did bid that signal. That it did come in, I believe it came in at $1 million and some change, and we had budgeted about $800,000 of traffic impact fee money for that. Haven't gotten all the approvals yet, so that's why it's not in front of this council to take action. But ultimately, we're going to have to make a decision pretty quick whether we hold off on us putting it in because D.R. Horton has offered as part of the project to pay for that. And so, it's a very interesting item. I think we always, as a city, you know, whether it's our comp plan or what we've always anticipated Norfolk going through at some point connecting to the Parkway. And obviously our concern was who would pay for the 4-lane.
Can I just add that our plan was to put a signal light in that would accommodate the 2 lanes.
Just the 2-lane.
If we did that and approved the 4-lane down the road, they would just rip all that work out. So there is something to be said for delaying it just to make sure we get it right, to see if this goes through. I know D.R. Horton's meeting with Melbourne tomorrow, their city manager, to discuss their portion of the project. But it seems prudent to wait a little while, keep our traffic guard out there, our police
definitely.
officer out there, you know, and then not spend all the money if we don't have to.
If we could save $1 million, that's might be worth. Yeah, certainly would be worth a couple of weeks to see where this unfolds. And so I know had several discussions with the team and Attorney Carey and what that agreement would look like. And so we're going to start working on that. But certainly a curveball. Didn't quite see that one coming. So,
All right.
Chief, good news.
All right, so Mayor, as you alluded to in your State of the City, we had ordered our Pterodyne. Well, I'm happy to report that we took delivery of that this morning, 2.5 months early. So it has to get decaled still, but we will plan on bringing it out to Cops on the Coop Friday, 6 to 8 p.m. at the Chick-fil-A. Where we're
Have
ready
a
to.
test drive?
What's that?
Can I have a test drive?
We will make sure you all get an opportunity. And then what we're going to do is once we have it fully decaled, we'll bring it here before a city council meeting, either later in March or early in April, so you can see.
Oh, sure. Mhm.
Well, it's capable, but I don't think you want us to do it the way we'd come in, so.
Any chance we can rename it? We could personalize the name instead of.
Oh, I'm already thinking about names. We can.
Yeah, we
That's just the
definitely-
brand name.
That's just the brand name, yep, so.
Chevy or Ford.
Yeah, but it did come in. We checked, gave it a once over today, and it's exactly what we were looking for. We'll get it decaled in the very near future, and we'll have it out there Friday. But then we'll bring it back to council once it's fully decaled for a show and tell before city council.
Now, the name command post was used for, that's not actually going to be utilized as command post, is it?
No, it'll be the command post essentially for the SWAT team, but not necessarily the incident command post.
Okay.
You know, sometimes an incident command post can be located where the team is. Oftentimes it might be at another location.
Seems if they're using it as a tactical vehicle, you wouldn't want it to be the command post.
Right. It could be located at the command post for a period of time, but it isn't necessarily the mobile command post. Yep.
I'll change my presentation to tactical vehicle instead of command post. Thank you, Mr. Frampus. Thank you, Chief.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Carey.
Thank you, Mayor. I emailed you all on Sunday night. There's a call on Monday mornings now that session has started. Sorry if that email got to you too late to give you enough notice, but you do have the number and the room number. If you haven't called into the league legislation calls, they're really helpful and informative. Certainly no obligation to do so, but I'll try to call in every week, but I can't guarantee you I'll be on all of them. I'm sure somebody will, though. And, you know, one of the things I'll just say as a precursor to the session is you'll see a lot of bills. A lot of people will be sending you bills. Most of them won't become law, and the ones that do will probably look a lot different than when they're first filed. So be vigilant, but don't panic. You know, if you see things you really hate, chances are the final law won't look quite like that. So, and I'll be tracking session to a reasonable degree. You know, I don't have enough time or bandwidth to track it like I was a lobbyist up there, but I'll try to pay attention, but feel free to bring anything by that you're curious about, and if I'll either know about it or I can figure it out and you know, report back to you and let you know what's going on. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anything else for the good of the order? All right, we are adjourned.